Circle of suspicion. That's what John Ray, one of the attorneys for some of the victims of the Long Island serial killer, has stated. Very much casting doubt on Rex Heuermann's family being out of town during the murders that took place on Gilgo Beach. At least that's the accusations that John Ray has been raising. Recently in a symposium as well, talking about, was Asa Ellerup in town or out of town? Does her alibi, in fact, stand up that she was not there when her husband allegedly committed these crimes? I think it's a fair question to ask. Joining me to discuss, Robin Dreeke, retired FBI special agent. And I know I have not been the friendliest on any of this with Asa because I think questions need to be answered. I in no way in saying that she's guilty, had anything to do with it, but I feel like, why are we not asking more questions? Why is this not getting a little bit closer of a look? When it comes to investigations like this, I know it's been stated by her attorneys that, and this was a little while back, I don't know if there's been any updates to this. It certainly hasn't been stated aloud that at least early on, they had not questioned her. It was, get out of your house. We got to go and raid this and all that. And now you get your house back. But there wasn't, I would think, what would be almost just basic protocol of questioning the wife of the person you think possibly is the Long Island serial killer, considering you're bringing charges against him. I don't know. There's a lot of gray area here, a lot of questions to be answered, and a lot of time, talking 20 years ago, as to where you were and what you were doing in specific time windows. Why are we not getting a closer look, and how do we get that closer look?
Yeah, I have no idea whether or not talking to her. That she should be interviewed. I'm with you. Guys like John Ray are we gotta love them. I mean, they are probably not if you're the investigative team, or maybe it is because I literally I had someone say to me the other day, actually early this morning, I got a text from a friend saying, "Hey, your coverage of this case is really great. Thanks for doing it." And my only response was, the investigative team has a tremendous workload they're doing, and they're doing a great job. But there's a lot of moving parts with this over time periods and time spans and jurisdictions. And so a guy like John Ray is both a help and a hindrance, I think, to that investigative team. He's highlighting things that make you go, huh. I used to have that expression in the FBI, things that make you go, huh. And this is another one of those things that make you go, huh. The things that made me go, huh, really early on with this whole thing is the amount of hair of hers and the daughter and everyone else in the duct tape that was used on the victims. That to me would trigger an interview at the very least.
Yeah.
And now you have John Ray coming up with evidence, according to him, that those timelines of her being out of town are not necessarily accurate. She, it's very things that make you go, huh, like,
Very much. Yeah.
yeah,
And
I'm there's so many theories out here
yeah.
of how and why this could happen. But again, you got to talk to her. I think you have to talk to her because we even said this on the last episode is he being sloppy or was she more witting? Was she the frog that's a little bit boiling? And we said this with her behavior as well. I mean, so if you're exposed to a little abnormal behavior at an early juncture, like John Ray supposes with her, that they're doing all kinds of weird sex club kind of stuff that she's aware of. So you become desensitized. And so, how desensitized did she become, and how lazy did Rex then become, if he is indeed the killer of all this, over a time period, so that she could easily rationalize and say to herself that she had no witty knowledge of this, but how close was she to it that she's rationalizing because she's desensitized? I mean, it's really complex. That's
Yeah.
why you got to interview her.
At the very least, that's all I think everyone is asking. Like, okay, if you're out of town, let's have some more information on this. And there has been information provided. There has been bank records that have been provided. There's been transactions for 3 different hotels in Atlantic City, as to which she was allegedly at. The dates are one of the things that are in question that John Ray is pointing out. The manager of the flagship hotel alleging 20 years ago that Ellerup checked in later than was stated on the bank records. And I don't. I mean, there's so many weird caveats here. We're talking 20 years ago too, and who knows how were these records kept? We're talking about bank records as well. I think another argument that can be brought up fairly easily is, you know, look at your own bank records. Sometimes you look at when you checked into a place, the charge doesn't occur for a couple days later. Right now, if I were to look at that charge and go, oh, that's just, that's just how that worked out. If I'm looking at a credit card receipt from 20 years ago, I don't know that I'm going to necessarily have the wherewithal to be like, oh yeah, that was a different date there. I mean, I don't know. There's some small inconsistencies, and I think it's good that John Ray is pointing it out. It may be absolutely nothing. It may be something of that nature, but I don't know. I find it interesting that you have all of these deaths that allegedly are connected to Rex Heuermann, and she's just happened to be out of town every single time these things happen. But is that their way of life? When she goes off to Atlantic City or what have you, he goes and kills prostitutes. Maybe that's just kind of how it worked.
Maybe.
It is, the other thing we'd be looking at here, like let's just look at what the situation would be if she was involved. The first thing she does is then go on vacation to Atlantic City with the kids right after Rex had something to do with
Right.
murdering a sex worker. I don't know. I mean, there's just a lot of gray area here that still seems to be up for debate, or at least up for explanation.
It costs nothing to interview her.
Then why
That's
aren't
it.
we?
Yeah,
Why?
I mean, just do it. Just get, she needs to be
Yeah.
part of this. Your hair was found on the victims.
Yeah.
You got to be in. Just
Yeah, I mean, I know that there's the documentary going on, so I do wonder how much of a situation she's gotten herself into in terms of non-disclosure and not being able to speak, even if she wanted to at this point, aloud. Um, it- but for her own interest, I would think if I had nothing to do with this and my spouse was this horrible, horrible monster, um, I don't know. I think I'd be finding ways of getting my story out there in every factual piece of evidence to show that I was not part of this. Unless maybe there's attorneys out there saying, don't speak, don't say anything, because anything you do say could, in fact, incriminate you, and they could flip around what you do say on you in some way, shape, or form when you don't even want to give them that sort of ammo.
I agree, but still, you got to interview her.
Yeah, I agree, and I think we'll find out a lot more information in that documentary that Fifty
Yeah, no
Cent
kidding.
is putting together on this. A sentence you never thought you'd say of, 50 Cent is investigating the Long Island and may end up exposing things in far greater detail that even the investigators are able to get at.
Maybe, and that's the sad part. But yeah, we need to hear from her. There's no doubt.
Hey, it's Tony Brueski. If you like the podcast, be sure to like, subscribe, and press that bell so you don't miss any of our updates on the cases we're following for you right here at the Hidden Killers podcast from True Crime Today. And thanks